Hi everyone, and welcome back in the second installment of how to degraft cacti or cactus, the Pereskiopsis edition. I'm going to be actually doing the practical element now and full demonstrations on how to actually cut the Pereskiopsis out of the scions. If you haven't watched part one, I strongly recommend that you do, because there's some images and depictions of what I'm actually aiming for when I'm making the cuts. So it will actually give you a very good foundation and understanding of what we're actually trying to achieve, rather than just looking at footage of me, randomly cutting up a cactus. If you understand the images and what we're aiming for, it's going to make the practical demonstrations make a lot more sense. I have shortened the clips because it does take quite a bit of time to degraft from Pereskiopsis. Hopefully not too much, but I just wanted to make it a little bit more streamlined. It's very, very quick and easy to make a cut or to scratch out part of the growth, but you can't put it back if you make a mistake. So just take your time. Don't rush through it. It's not a task to be rushed. I didn't want to produce a video where everything went perfect, because that's not how things work in the cactus world. Things go wrong, things might surprise you, things might not go to plan, and at the end of the day, the cactus make the rules. I have to follow them. On with the show for real this time, and I hope you enjoyed the video. These scions have actually already made their own roots. Now, it's just at the start of autumn here when I'm filming this, so it's not an ideal time to be degrafting. I'd rather degraft in spring, but I've got these nice healthy roots here. I don't want to waste them, and so I'm going to degraft them today. I'll just get a little bit closer so you can see, and you can see just how embedded that Pereskiopsis actually is, but there's those nice fresh roots. So it's going to get a little bit messy early on, but once you clear like the first pup out of the way, then it's not such a problem. A bit easier to manage, so I just cut it off, and you can keep this stalk. This will actually make new shoots, so it's not all for nothing. Far out, Brussels sprout. It's an absolute mess. I don't really know where to start, so I'm just going to have to pick a place. I'm thinking I'm probably going to start on this one here, just because I can see part of its base. So I'm being quite forceful, and what I'm doing is just pushing it sideways. I just want to see where the first one's always going to be a little bit on the ugly side. All right, here we go. So this one, I damaged it, but it's unavoidable. I'm not going to be able to do any better than that. So what I'll do now is just clean it up. And here you can see the inside of the Pereskiopsis, and so this would have been the original scion there, and then you can see the pups have come off, and it's just this big woody stem. So I guess it's a good visual representation is if you were going to degraft it and it was just the one scion, you would imagine that this would be like that, and you would have to, in another example, you'll see that I have to do like a cone-shaped cut. So I sort of core out the center, and that's why, because this is all the Pereskiopsis tissue in here. So you want to cut that out, and often you'll have maybe this much left of the scion that's got the growth tip, and that's where you're cutting to. But you have to remove all the Pereskiopsis if you're doing it in this way. So that's good. I'm just going to clean up these little jaggedy bits there, and then I'm just going to grab a little, this is an oderii. I'm just going to go grab one, and I'm going to show you the difference in size. Alright, so this is a Neochilenia oderii, which is what this is. This is a different variant, but I'll just show you. I've had this plant for, I don't know, a couple of years, and prior to it coming to me, it was probably already a couple of years old. But by comparison, these were grafted last year, so these are a year old. So that gives you an idea of why we graft. I've just got some garden lime here. Now people are going to ask me, because I get asked a lot when I'm talking about cuttings or degrafting, can you use sulfur powder? I don't use it. I'm not a fan of it personally. I like lime. I find it works better. I'm just dipping the cut surfaces into the garden lime. This will just help with the drying process, because you want to callus it. And I want these to callus quite quickly because it's autumn, and so I've got a couple of months to get these guys to set roots before they go through their drought. This has been grafted for probably, maybe 2 or 3 years now. I can't actually remember exactly when I did it. This one's going to be a little bit trickier because it's very spiky, and the spikes are quite sharp, but it's got some roots, so far out. This one's really sharp. Oh. Ow. That's really sharp. Oh, I'm on away. Because this is one of the main ways that people get speared, and speared badly, is by holding cactus with cardboard or fabric or whatever. But I'm actually, because it'll go straight through, but I'm actually just going to hold the base down here. There's a really woody portion that I'm trying to cut around, because I'm not going to be able to cut through it. It's way too woody. So what will happen is, once you cut out enough of the bits that are connecting the Pereskiopsis, is that it should just pop out, kind of like a cork. Hallelujah! That was hard work. Right, so that's why this guy has started making roots. Have a look at this. You see that gross brown goopy stuff? So the Pereskiopsis has basically stopped working. I'm just using the blade like a scoop, because it'll cut and scoop at the same time. Just get all that goopy stuff out and all the grossness, and that's what you'll end up with. Just make sure we can see. Massive cavity, but has to be done. A little bit of brown there. Two colours in cactus you don't want to see on the, especially on the inside. Orange and brown. They're the colours of doom. So all I'll do is fill it up with garden lime. Nice and easy. I'll leave it upside down. I'll just fill it up, fill the cavity up. And if I missed any of the brown goopy bits, then that will soak up any excess moisture or anything like that, and help the inside of it callus nicely. I'm going to do this little guy here, and this is a Chilio Rabutia malleolata. It's actually started growing roots already, so it's easier to work with. So first thing I want to do is find where my entry point is going to be, and I'm thinking that there isn't a very good one to begin with. Probably here. See, there's a bit of movement in there. So my theory is, if I can get down to the base, make a few little cuts, and then just sort of work back from there. Cool. Nice. Nice clean cut. A few little jaggedy bits, but really nothing crazy. And then garden lime. This won't hurt the roots. They won't like it all that much, but it's not harmful to them. And now when I start working, it's a bit easier because I've got a little bit more clearance around where I can cut. So I'm going to go in through here. And you've got to be careful that you don't go too deep, because you don't know what's on the other side, and it's very, very easy to make a wrong cut and cut the body of the next plant over, especially when they're so dense. Far out! Oh! These are only little spines, but they're pretty sharp. Alright, now, sometimes you do have to just tear the pup away, but if you can get away with not doing that, then that's what you want. Clean cuts all the way. Clean cuts for the win. There we go. So I'm just going to clean it up, but that root's coming from there. So what I'll do, rather than cutting this way towards the root, I want to cut away from the root so that I can avoid it. Because it's very easy to overshoot the mark, because the density of tissue on cactus can change quite quickly. So you can go from the center portion, which is a little bit more woody and harder to cut through, to the outer skin and flesh, which is much softer. So it's very easy to apply the pressure you need to get through here, which is quite firm, and then go flying out the other side. It's also how you can cut yourself quite easily. So just be careful. What I'll do is I want to cut through here to the center, like this, and then I will cut like a triangle. Just push a little. I'm just applying a little bit of outward pressure just so I can cut where I need to. Alright. That bit there, you might have heard that little crackle noise. That tore off, but that's okay because I'm going to cut it back anyways. No roots on this one, but nice and clean. Let's have a look at where the Pereskiopsis actually goes into the plant. And you can see the line going this way. That's where it goes up into. So it forms this big knot inside the scion, and that's the bit that's hard to cut. Alright, I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to cut this guy off here because he's got the most wiggle room. Oh, there's a root in there. Hang on. Go through here. Here we go. Some cool little roots. Just going to clean that up. That root's probably gone, so I'll just cut it off. So originally this would have been upright, and you can see this all in here. This is all Pereskiopsis. Part of it will be the scion, but it's mostly the union, which becomes a little bit of a hodgepodge of tissue after a couple of years. And another cleanup. See in there? That's the root. So I'm going to degraft this guy as well. He's starting to flower, but we're not going to let that happen. Just take those off. Now I'm quite lucky with this one because usually asterias become like the Pereskiopsis becomes very embedded in them, but I can actually see where it was originally grafted. So it shouldn't be too difficult. So I'm going to aim to cut here, right there, and I'm going to do my best to avoid the root. Now, so I just got to be careful, and I'm just going to try my best to get this off. There we go, I got it. Alright, now, still a little bit of the Pereskiopsis in there, I believe, so I'm just going to do a little bit of a core, not huge, just that little bit there that I don't really like the look of. So there's the root. We can see it a bit clearer now, and I'll just do not a big core, just a small one. Now it makes sense. The brown goo returns. Ooh. Nope. That is what I do not want to see. That thorn's still in my finger. Get out. There we go. Look at that. It's much nicer. A couple little brown freckles over there. Nothing too crazy though. I'm not really that worried about it. I got the bulk of it out, and the lime will fix up the rest of it. Just take that little, see that little bit in there. Just gonna get rid of that. Just to make sure it's not too deep. Because asterias can be silky plants. I like them a lot, but they can be really silky. Happy with that. A little bit of brown freckles. The camera makes it look worse than it actually is. We've got that nice root there. Just got spines in it now. And there's that plant there. I'll use the same pot again for a size comparison of size, so you can get an idea. And this one's been grafted for a year as well, so good sized plant. And looks like I got to it at the right time. So fill the little hole up with garden lime and just tap off the excess so it doesn't go everywhere. And we are going to be doing some Astrophytum myriostigma nudum. It's a bit of a mouthful. So these are hybrids. These guys have been grafted for, I believe, that one is 2 years and that one is 1 year. Now I'm doing the smaller one today because the Pereskiopsis is dead, as you can see there. So it's smaller than I would like to do, and you might notice from the examples at the beginning of the video that it's much smaller than I would recommend, but it doesn't matter. The Pereskiopsis has packed in, and so it doesn't matter what I think. It has to come off. So this one hasn't got as much of a pronounced neck, but you'll see there that brown portion. I'll see how close I can get in there. So I'm going to try and cut probably about midway. Let me get the blade. So I'm going to try and cut about here, quite close to the body of the plant. It is only going to be a very small cut anyways. Just using a Stanley knife, because I don't know where my scalpel is. I had it just here, but anyways. So first things first is I'll just make the first cut. Ah. I was hoping for no brown, but there's a little bit of brown in there. Just here. So I'll cut a little bit more. Once you get to this bit, it's very, very tricky to keep cutting down, because I don't want to cut this green portion. I just want to stick to the neck. So I'll just see what I can do. Look at that. Nice and healthy. There's a little bit of a scrappy bit here. I'll just cut that off. See? Look at that. That's nice and clean and healthy tissue. That's definitely going to be Astrophytum and not Pereskiopsis. And I give it a little dunk in the garden lime. So it looks like that. So the reason for degrafting this guy is because, where are they? Do my eyes deceive me? No, they don't. There's little roots just there. See that little yellow portion? Ideally, I would want to preserve those roots. This is the thing about cactus grafting, degrafting. Sometimes you have to reassess the situation and think about what's going to be best. I think I'm going to cut where I normally would, down here. I'm I'm not too worried about those little roots. Normally, I mean, I would try and preserve roots, but no, I want to make sure that it's, yeah, no, I'm just going to cut it off. Okay, so here we have another example, and now it's making more sense why it was throwing roots off. This is the, come on. So this is the union site, and you see that brown, horrible, gross stuff? So for some reason at the union site, which is here, something's going on, and it's made this horrible brown gooey stuff. It's not necessarily very gooey, but it's just gross. This I'm not worried about. I'm going to cut it a little bit further back, but just to be sure, but I'm not worried about that. It's starting to turn, which is why it's got that sort of slight orange tinge, which I don't like. But that's it there. There's a flower here, so I'll take that off. I don't want it wasting energy going into flower. The blade looks a bit manky, but it's okay. Do the final cut. Perfect. Here we go. Look at that. Nice and neat and tidy. Now, at the start of the video, as I mentioned, I mean, this is a little different because it has a neck, but the advice that someone had given to cut the cactus in half, I mean, you can see here, we've got a nice looking plant. I've got a 2-inch pot here for reference. Okay, so that's a 2-inch pot, or what are they, 6.5 centimeters thereabouts. So you can see it's a decent sized plant. Height wise, I mean, you could easily set this up and grow in this pot and it would look beautiful, but the advice that someone had given was, oh well, if you want to degraft it, you need to cut it, and they would be recommending cutting it there. So you'd go from having a good sized plant to having just this little weird nub kind of thing. Anyway, so I wouldn't recommend that. That's all it needs. Leave it upside down. I don't know why that one's that way. It shouldn't be. Like that. Thanks for watching. And as always, happy gardening. Bye.